Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Map Show. We've started listening to Glen sharing with us an awesome experience that he gained by introing the legend, Mr. Raymond Ackerman. And we touched on the first 2 points. Tonight, we will be continuing going on to the second point, and it's called 90% guts. So let me not take up the time. Let's get the master himself, Glen, to share with us after this quick video what is going to be interesting tonight, as well as 90% guts.
It's amazing how technology and electricity kind of work hand in hand. Welcome. Good to be here this evening. And I trust if you're joining us from Africa, you will understand what I mean. If you're joining us from Europe, enjoy your electricity while you have it. It's exciting to be here with you this evening, and we're going to be talking about something which is extremely important when it comes to your goal and the pursuit of your dream, and that is to have courage. Raymond Ackerman put it this way. He said, if you want to succeed in business, the one thing that you need is guts. And he actually went on to say that business, or being successful in business, is 90% guts and 10% cash. And he said, if you needed if you haven't got the cash, it's because you don't have the guts to ask for it. And so that's an interesting approach. And so I thought this evening I would talk about that one particular point. Passmore was very interested in all 10 points last week, so we did touch on them just before we entered. And the exciting thing is that tonight he's going to be live in studio with us all the way from Zambia. So that's exciting. And if you are joining us tonight from wherever you might be, remember that you are most welcome to join us in studio. Just make sure that you send a message through to us beforehand, and we'd love to have you part of our studio, especially if you are already a MAP Club member and participating in our weekly MAP Club sessions. So tonight, the topic is 90% guts. Wow. Children have courage, don't they? I mean, when before a child starts school, they have courage like no adult. I mean, they will walk up to a complete stranger and speak to them without any hesitation whatsoever. But as we begin to learn things in the school environment, we suddenly start realizing that we need permission to talk. Raise your hand if you want to ask a question. And there's a respect for authority to the point where we begin to shrink into our little cocoon, and we lose the ability to step out with courage. I remember when my son Joshua was born, we had a very specific scripture or verse that we felt was key for his life, and that was Joshua 1 verse 8. And it goes on to talk about the fact that you need to be strong and courageous. And I think when you are stepping in to your promised land, whatever that may be, when you're going to step into your promised land, the mantra is be strong and filled with courage. because you're going to need that when you step into the unknown, when you go into places that you've never been before. you're going to have courage. And why do you need courage? Because we need to step with faith into the future. I was listening to somebody on Sunday morning saying that we don't go into the future with sight, we step into the future with faith. How did it go? We don't walk by sight, we walk by faith. And so courage is something that is absolutely critical. And I think what Raymond Ackerman was talking about, being a devout Jew himself, he was talking about things that maybe he had learned not only in business, but also from the culture from which he came. And so courage is a really important thing. And courage comes with conviction. If you have great conviction, courage is natural. When you have something that you want to stand up for, somehow there's that little person that rises up inside of you. We're sitting today where people are fearful of standing for something. And if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And I think that's where we find ourselves. There's this, what they call today, the silent majority. There's people out there just going through the motions of life. They don't want to rock the boat. They're afraid to speak their mind. And they just go and get up Monday morning and repeat what they did the week before, the month before, and the year before. I think it takes courage to do something new. It takes courage to stand up for what you believe. It takes courage to be bold and believe in your convictions. So when we talk about having 90% guts, I think of when I began with Map for Life. I had courage like that you can't imagine. But the courage that I had wasn't courage in the context of what you might be thinking right now. My courage was the result of my passion for what I had created. I knew that I had put together a tool that was not only going to change my life, but it was going to touch and transform other people's lives. I was so excited by it. I was so convinced that this was the one tool that I was looking for and that other people were desperately seeking, that I was able to share it with passion with other people, with strangers. And so it appeared as if I was courageous. I had the courage, I had the guts. But in actual fact, what was driving that was a fire within. And that fire within was called passion. And I think that you too have courage when you ignite your passion. Ed Trout came to South Africa some years ago, and he claimed that your name is on your flame. People will begin to know you by what you are passionate about. And so I really believe that passion is at the core of the courage that you need. If you have a business idea and you want to share it with a potential investor, they want to see passion. They don't want to see just numbers. So often we think it's numbers that they want to see. Yes, if you're going to the bank and you want to borrow money, they are only interested in the numbers. In fact, their whole business plan is a total waste for anything else other than getting the funding. So most people will put together a business plan that's tailored perfectly for the bank's requirements. They'll submit it to the bank. They will get the funding. And that business plan, which they submitted and worked so hard on, maybe even got other people's input, maybe a number of people, and specifically an accountant who understood the bank's language, that business plan, which they would have invested in and put together, sadly finds its way into a filing cabinet in drawer 13. It goes there, never to be referenced again. We should not be putting business plans of that kind together. Our business plan should be focused on the vision, the ultimate dream. That business plan should be a working tool that we can reference, that we can work with, because it's going to give us the courage, the conviction to step boldly where no man has gone before. And now I feel like a man from Star Trek. Let's go into the future with courage. I love that movie, just incidentally. My wife and I and our youngest son had the opportunity to spend 3 months in a place called Switzerland. And what an experience we had while we were there. The sun in summer goes down past more. It goes down at 10 o'clock at night. I mean, you lose all track of time. You're there at 10 p.m., the sun is still shining, and you think it's daytime. You don't realize you should have been in bed already. And so we had to adjust to that kind of situation. But what was interesting is that we found my brother-in-law had bought this, I think, something like 9 series of Star Trek from the beginning right to the end. And so in our 3 months that we spent in Switzerland, we had an episode of Star Trek to watch every evening. And what was fascinating about it is that many of the technology items that we're using today were things that were just somebody's imagination back in the day of Star Trek when I was a young boy watching that program. So it just proves that having the boldness to go where no one has gone before is the kind of thing necessary. It's the kind of character trait that inspires investors to invest in your dream. It's the kind of character trait that inspires people to follow you, to see you as a leader. So I think that what Raymond Ackerman was saying is that, man, get passionate. Find that thing that you're really passionate about, because if you are passionate about something, it's going to ignite a fire, not only in your heart, but in the hearts and minds of others. So what is it that douses the flame of passion inside of you? What is it that causes you to doubt? What is it that's keeping you from stepping forward in faith? These are questions that I think we need to ask ourselves. And I find that the people closest to us are the ones that can very easily pour a bucket of cold water on your dream. I remember listening to Zig Ziglar, and he said that if you have give up goals, you should share it with everyone. In South Africa, there's the odd person who still thinks it's a good idea and cool to smoke a cigarette. So if you want to give up smoking, tell everyone, because they're going to remind you every time you light a cigarette, they're going to remind you of that decision. But if you have a grow up goal, something that's going to take you to a different level, you share that only with people who have your best interests at heart. You don't go and tell the sales team that you are going to be the number one salesperson for the month ahead, or for the quarter, or for the year, because every salesperson in the team is going to be devising a way to prevent you from being number one. But if you find the people that believe in you, that see the value of you reaching your goal and the impact that that'll have in the community and in the environment that you find yourself in, those people are going to encourage you. They're going to fan the flames of passion in your life. And so it's important for us to wisely share our dreams as we boldly step into the future. So those closest to us can say just a single word that could douse the flames of passion. So be careful who you share it with. Seeds of doubt are something that can undermine your conviction. And there's one word that comes to mind that falls into that category, and that is the word how. And small people will always ask that question of you. When you've seen a vision, when you've seen something impossible that you believe must be and has to be a reality in this world to make it a better place, when you catch a glimpse of that vision, that purpose for which God has called you, when you see it with your eyes, when it's revealed to you, no one else can see it yet, but you can. There's always going to be some small person there that's going to come up to you and say, yes, yes, yes. I hear what you're saying, but how are you going to do it? And just those words, but how, cast or sow the seed of doubt. And the seed of doubt is the cancer of faith. And the seed of doubt will cause you to shrink back into procrastination. It'll cause you to begin to make excuses. It'll cause you to begin to lose belief in your vision, and not even worse, belief in yourself. You'll begin to fear what other people might think of you. And so stay away from people who ask you that question. Mix with people who encourage you, who catch the vision, who can see the world transformed through your big idea. And just by the way, you are literally God's idea. You are born for such a time as this. You are his idea for mankind. I was looking up the word world the other day. You know, what was the origin of the word world? And one of the explanations was simply the age of man. And you are born for this age, for such a time as this. You have special gifts and talents. And you know something? When you operate in your gifting and talent, you naturally have courage. You naturally have passion. It's when you're operating in a learned skill that is not aligned with your gifts and talents that doubt is always there. For you to move forward in your learned skills and talents, you always have to use logic. You always have to be able to demonstrate or explain what your thinking process has been before you take a step. But when you're operating in your gifting and talents, your natural gifting and talents, your born gifts and talents, you step in faith. You don't need to have a piece of paper or a certificate that gives you the permission or the authority, like the world system. I mean, when you're operating in your gifts and talents and somebody shares their problem with you and you have a natural ability to counsel, to solve those kind of problems, to comfort people, or maybe just to listen to them, they don't ask for you to show your credentials first. They already know that person in the community is a great listener, and they will just come up to you and begin to share their problems, and you will listen. And just through your listening will help them solve those things. But you know, the world has put a great emphasis on getting an education, learning a skill that is difficult. And the more difficult and unnatural it is for you, the higher they are willing to pay for that skill to keep you in that space where you can spend the rest of your life doing something that you hate doing just because the carrot that they've extended is a good carrot. I was talking to someone earlier, or in fact, yesterday evening, and they used this concept, which I may have mentioned a couple times on our show, and that is that the school system seems to be bent on producing clones, bent on producing drones. It seems like everybody that comes out of school is thoroughly, what's the word? Thoroughly purposeless. They come out looking like everyone else. They come out not knowing where to go. They're waiting for someone else to tell them where to go. When you are connected with purpose, you were born to lead in that field. And I've seen it over and over again that children up to the age of 12 are just eager to stand out, to stand up, to shout their dream to the world. But when they enter into high school, they just want to blend in. They want to disappear. They want to conform. And I think that at the age of 13, we are seeing the death of the child, the death of the dream, the death of passion for so many people. So if guts, if courage is what you need for your dream, then passion is the thing that you need to connect with. Remember, passion and purpose are like Siamese twins. They're always together. And so I would encourage you tonight to fan the flames of passion, because in doing so, you will find the courage, the guts, the fortitude that you never knew you had. It will come up and bubble out of you in a way that you've never experienced before. So let us go and step into the future with passion so that the world will see the courage that we demonstrate, because every step that we take in passion is actually a step of faith, willing to ready to reveal the vision that you have seen and to identify you as someone, as a person of purpose. Thank you so much for listening this evening. We're going to have a short break, and after that, Passmore and Henny are going to join me as we take this subject further. We'll see you in a short moment.
Thank you very much, Glenn. That was so powerful. It's as simple as just taking a step. Before I introduce Glenn and Passmore on the panel, let's just say hi to all our guests. Sankwe is online. If I remember correctly from last week, Sankwe, you are from Zambia. I can see Andrew's online, Octavia's online. Welcome aboard. Please feel free to join us in all the conversation. With that said, let's get Glenn and Passmore on screen as well to join us in conversation. Glenn, I'm once again not going to start by asking you what you thought of the discussion. Let's throw that over to Passmore. Passmore, what's the one thing that stood out for you in that conversation?
Thank you very much, Hen, and thank you very much, Glenn. One thing that stood out to me is when Glenn mentioned about what school produces. I have got one child, and I remember the boy when he was young. At one time, he came and said, "Daddy, I want to make a phone which can be charged by water." And then at one time he came, he says, "I'm very tired." It was in the morning. He says, "I've come up with an alphabet that can be used at a time of war." And he came up with the characters that I don't like the English alphabet. He just made it himself. But when I call him today to say, "Do you still remember that?" It's like it had died out. So I really buy it, Glenn, that at times I think school does not really prepare us for a life of purpose. But somehow we tend to lose that fire, and then we are confined with the skills. Like you have mentioned, you have to get permission to do something. But when you are using your gift, when you are using your talent, it just flows out naturally. And I really appreciated that. And that we have to fund our our passion, those flames of passion, we knew how to find them out. I sincerely appreciated that aspect. And when you mentioned about courage, that when you open, you say 90% is guts and the 10% cash. When I went to send the money for our book, Map 23, the Map for Life 23, when I went to the post office to send this money, this lady took me to task for almost 30 minutes. I said, no. Do you know this person? Where you are sending the money? I say, I know him. He is a friend. I know him. I know his character. I know, even if you go on Facebook, anywhere, you find this name. He's someone who is reliable. So I don't really have any single doubt. Here is the money, and he sent it. And the lady looked at me again, I think about 3 times or so. But I said, no, my friend, here is my money. I know this person. What I want is this book. Actually, I wanted it yesterday. And then finally she got and she sent it. So I appreciated that fact when you mentioned that it is the 90% the guts and then the 10% cash. For sure, without courage in this life, you can't go anywhere. Even when you have got an elaborate business plan, which has got all the figures, all the graphs. But if the one selling this business plan hasn't got the courage, I think it can go anywhere. For now, that's my comment.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so Andrew's comment on what Glenn spoke about is, I am God's idea. Very true, Andrew. Octavia says, indeed, every step is a step of courage. And then Sankwe's feedback is, yes, passion and purpose are like twins. I'm an engineer by trade as well, and we like to put everything into formulas. But once it starts getting structured, it makes life just a lot easier for us. And listening to Glenn, I sort of made up this formula while he was chatting to say guts equals vision or purpose plus passion. And if that is the case, if guts is greater than fear, nothing is going to stop me. Glenn, your take on my maths here? What is your take on that?
Just repeat that, Henny, the last statement. Guts is?
So guts equals vision plus passion. And if guts then is greater than fear, nothing can stop us.
I like that very much. I think that, just listening to what that formula that you put together, vision being a key, which is actually inspired by the things that we're passionate about. And it ties back to Passmore talking about his son, who demonstrated at a young age his inquisitive or curiosity about life and about innovation and invention, and demonstrating that as human beings, we are not here just to learn the language that our mother speaks, but we actually have the ability to create a new language. And he demonstrated that by putting together an alphabet that, and what's interesting about that demonstration, that it's important for us as parents to see those gifts that our children have and give them every opportunity to explore that passion, so that when they are older, they will not depart from that way. And by asking him again now and reminding him about what he did in his younger days is extremely valuable, because the world wants to own your child. The world wants to buy your child's life away for 40 years. And at the end of those 40 years, give them back and say, you can now retire. And by reminding him that he already at a young age was able to create new things, where he could have what Henny was talking about, having a vision of something new and being excited enough to tell Dad about it and say, hey, Dad, look at this. I think is so important. So Henny, I like your formula very much. I was starting to think of, what words or letters, but there was something else that came to mind when you talked about passion and vision and guts. And that was this example. Now, maybe Octavia is our only panelist that is a female tonight. So Octavia, her name ends with an A, so she's a woman in Portuguese. If it was an O, it would be a male. Okay, so but I do know Octavia personally. But you know, Octavia, excuse us for a moment as we have a man discussion. But when your eyes connect with her eyes across the room for the first time, do you remember that moment, Passmore? When you met
I do.
You remember it, and I know that Henny remembers the moment as well. I remember that moment so clearly. 1986. You know, I was there. It was in February 1986, and I saw Anne. And in that moment, she became my vision. And then the passion came along as well. And together, the vision and the passion gave me the courage to get up out of my chair and go and introduce myself. And I think when you talked about that formula, it cast me back to that moment. And I think there's no difference between that moment when you meet your wife to be or your husband to be. That same feeling is the feeling that you get when you connect with your vision. It makes your heart beat faster. And then you know this is for you. And then you just need to keep stepping and remember that there are people out there that want to or say things in the interest of protecting you from harm or hurt, but in actual fact, their words pour water on your vision. I hope you don't mind me using that analogy with your formula, Henny. Vision and
I'm happy with
passion
it.
and guts and courage. There you go.
Exactly. I see Mikas joined us from Ireland as well, and he says it takes guts and goals. I agree with you 100%. I'm busy reading. Okay, I see we're going on and off the screen. That's just purely because of connection. And I'm not sure it's just happening on my side, but I am struggling, and I'm probably going to go into darkness at 8 o'clock. But I'll be back if I disappear quickly. To continue, I'm reading a book called Talk Like TED, as in the TED shows that we see where the people have their moments of glory. And as part of this book, he talks about 9 magical things that you as a public speaker can do to make life a lot easier. And the funny thing is, the first thing he talks about is the word called passion. The greatest fear in the world right now is the fear of public speaking. And he says to overcome that fear, your passion is the only solution to it. If you start talking from the heart, if the heart is thrown into it, fear will just disappear. And I think what we tend to do as human beings is more in the head. What are the people going to think of me? What is happening with everything else? And I think we put too much head into it and too little heart around that. So if you have a vision and you follow your passion, I don't think the word fear will actually exist in your vocabulary. It would just be something that the world is trying to throw at you as a last poor attempt to stop you from achieving what you want to do. But that's my take on what I've read so far. Passmore, you agree with me?
I do agree with you, Hen. I also read a certain book. Someone he wrote the word fear as abbreviations and says fear actually stands for false evidence that appears to be real. False evidence that appears to be real. In most cases, the things that we are afraid of, they don't even come to pass. At the end of the day, you regret, I wish I had done this. And there are a lot of people in this world who have got who are living with regrets. If I had done this, if I had done this, and also waiting for public approval, that people have to be approved, this and that, and even that. I can appreciate it to see the book, the one you have mentioned, Hen, that talks about a lot of people are afraid of public speaking. And I've seen that to be true. We are afraid of everyone around. such that even what is inside you does not even come out literally well. And at the end of the day, like someone says, the graveyards are the richest places because men and women are going there with their ideas, with their visions that were never pursued because we are waiting for someone to approve them. And I must also be quick to mention, I was writing notes. Glenn talked about small people who ask you how, who plant the seeds of doubt. You want to have something, you want to do something, you share an idea with the wrong person, they can even quench the whole flame out. How are you going to do it? Have you ever done it? Has anyone in your family done it? And when those seeds of doubt are taken by us, we find even the dream dies out. I hope when you are going to write that formula that you have come up with, and that it will be something that all of us are going to share around. When you said you are an engineer and Glenn is an engineer, I am a mechanic by profession. So I also coming from the engineering field where you want to see how things are moving. This one must be added to this, and then you must have this. So I appreciate that fact. So I challenge you, Henry, that formula, we need to see it somewhere written, and then it will inspire all of us and someone else somewhere. Thank you.
I agree. And one of the things that Glenn taught us, if it's not on paper, it's vapor. So it has to be written down somewhere. I was just thinking around it as well to say that fear is what the world throws at you when you're not sure about things. And in my map cafe, I think one of the sessions about 3-4 weeks ago, we almost spoke for just over half an hour why people aren't doing things, and the main reason for it is what would the other people think of us. Um, I'm blessed in that way that I don't care what other people think of me. I've left that. I'm not doing things in life for people to approve or disapprove. I've got one person that I need to one day report back to, and that person is not really a person. That's when I move on to my more permanent life. And I was just thinking, and I was challenging the guys in that session by saying, if I'm still concerned about what people think of me doing and what will people will think if I fail, then I don't understand my vision yet, and I don't understand a vision board. By envisioning what it will look like if people see me fail, etc., etc., I'm creating a vision. I'm creating a picture of what it's going to look like in the future. Why can I not swap it around into something that will look like when I am successful? If you say you can't create a vision board by seeing yourself fail, you've just created a vision board in your mind already. Why can't you just make sure that your vision and your passion is big enough and create the positive vision board? Glenn, your take on that?
I mean, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about a quote that I read a number of years ago, and it just simply goes like this: when fear knocks and faith answers, no one is there. And so fear...
You can say it again.
When fear knocks and faith answers, no one is there. In other words, fear and faith cannot coexist. Fear flees faith. And as we were talking, I think we used the word courage. The reason the word courage exists is because there's the perception of fear out there. So courage is something that is perceived by those who are fearful. When they look at you taking a step of faith, for you who steps in faith, fear has run away. Fear is not there. So for you who steps in faith, in the eyes of those who are fearful, they look to you and they say that you are courageous. But in actual fact, you yourself don't feel like courage because you've stepped in faith and fear wasn't there. I think the same thing with failure and success. The one wouldn't exist without the other. The two words are there because they sort of these opposites. And failure, what is failure really? Or what is fear maybe? People don't fear failure. They fear what other people might think of them when they fail. Yeah, a child gets up and fails to walk again and again and again. But they can't hear us. They can't understand us. So they ignore all our warnings. They ignore all our intimidation, trying to make them fearful, trying to protect them. They just keep getting up and falling because they are determined to walk like mommy and daddy. And every single one, bar a few people who have some physical impediment, every single one succeeds. And the way we succeed, by getting up one more time than we fall. And so I think, as you were talking, you were inspiring me to think about things. And so I hope that maybe that just gives another angle on our discussion this evening of this thing called fear.
It does. Mika saying, share your passion, share your vision. And I think it was you, Glenn, that says passion is the fuel that drives the vision.
I wrote that, Henny. The reason I wrote that was because we have a mechanic in the engineering side, and none of his machines can work unless there's some form of fuel, some form of power, something being injected in there. And I think there's a great analogy that maybe Passmore will be able to elaborate on is the the need for a fuel or power source to make the mechanical machine actually function. And I think there could be some really good analogies to draw from that in terms of our vision and enable us to be able to move towards it. So maybe he can share a bit about that later. Sorry, Henny, I interrupted you.
No problem. Yeah, Passmore, I agree with Glenn. We can unpack that just now. Octavia says, and eventually they walk. And I think that assumes back to what you were saying, Glenn, where a child, when he wants to start walking, keeps falling, but he keeps on just getting up until he can eventually walk. So yeah, I think for the formula to be perfect and work, you cannot just say that vision equals what you want to say. What is the right word I'm looking for? So vision is not just success or significance. You need passion plus vision. I think one needs the other really to make you go fearful wherever you want to go. If you've only got passion, or if you,
Henny, does the vision not actually? I'm just wondering, because you like to use that word that we're wanting to incorporate into Map for Life, that your vision board is a preview of the future. And I'm just wondering if your vision and your passion are kind of, I mean, they are chained together, because the vision gets you to be passionate, and the passion inspires the vision. They kind of, the two are. That's why it's vision plus passion. They kind of they hooked at the hip.
True. So the question then for me just is: we're saying vision plus passion equals guts. Can just vision be guts, and can just passion be guts? And I don't think so. I think together the two needs to work together to make it big enough. Otherwise, guts might not be bigger than fear. Let's leave that there. Passmore, over to you.
Thank you.
Glenn was saying passion is the fuel that drives the vision. Let's hear the mechanic come out.
Exactly. Henry, you have mentioned it, because when I look at vision, I see vision as a great picture. You see, you want to go on top of the mountain. As far as you are concerned, the mind is already there. But now you need the fuel that will take you there. I think that's where we find the place for guts and passion. That this is the fuel now. You know where you want to go. Like we have the map for life. You know the destination. I want to reach there. Now, how do I reach there? So this is where you find now the passion and the guts to fuel you to go to that to that point. I remember this analog when I was starting in Uganda. I was contracted by a company to repair their generators and those machines. Then someone says, "But did you learn this at college?" I said, "No. At college we learn principles. When I see a machine, my question is, what drives what? Where does power, what is the source of power? What is the output? What comes in? So when you put the fuel at the end of the day to generate the power that side, this is what you want this side. So this is something that I see, that we have got a big picture. I want to reach this point. How do I reach this point? Now you have got the guts, you have got the passion that is fueling you up, meaning all the three can never be separated. If you just have the vision, but there's no fuel to read, there's no passion, there are no guts, then we can't reach that. And if you only have got guts and passion, but you have got nowhere to go. And I think this is where a lot of people are. They have got the guts, they have got the passion, but they have got nowhere to go. Where on the other hand, someone may have the vision written on paper, but they don't have the fuel to do that. They think it's only a few people who can do things. The others are just observers.
100% agree with you. Yeah, love it, love it. Gustav, I haven't greeted you, and you already gave some input, but welcome aboard. Gustav is saying, let's put a different spin on the formula. He says, fear makes you act without vision and passion. That's the opposite of what we were saying. So, which is also true. So, if fear plus passion equals guts or being successful, being significant, if one of the two are missing, and let's say the passion is there and the vision is missing, then it means I'm in a corporate job because I'm chasing somebody else's vision. So if one of the two, what do you call them? One of the two elements in front of the equal sign is not there, it means that's substituted by something that the world gives us. Well, am I complicating life now? So if I've got passion, but no vision, I'm in a job doing what I like, but I'm chasing somebody else's vision. I'm not going anywhere. If I've got a vision, but there's no passion, I might still be sitting in a day job doing something for somebody else, making their success or their end result coming through, because then fear is there. Is that complicating life, Glenn?
Well, as you're talking about that and looking at these independently, I think a person who has passion with no vision is someone who's extremely frustrated, and not the kind of person you want around you, because their passion turns into something else. It becomes frustration, anger, and some other kind of emotion, because it has nowhere to be channeled. And you see this very often with young people. They're full of life, they're full of energy, but without that clear vision, they can take that passion and turn it into something that's harmful. They might get involved in drugs and other kinds of things, crime, whatever it might be, because they don't have a vision and a focus for their life. On the other hand, I think there's people that have been told what their vision should be by the television. And so they see something that appears to have the ability to give them celebrity status one day, or maybe put them in the limelight. And so it's all about me, myself, and I. They've got this big vision, but there's really no passion. And so what happens is that kind of vision that's not their own cannot carry them into the future for very long. They might get them to start something, but it's certainly not going to take them through the difficult times that are invariably going to come, because with every vision, there will be a test. We call those tests trials and tribulations, but there will be a test that gives you the opportunity to develop the character trait necessary for the vision that you have. And you won't pass that test if passion's not there.
Perfect. So Sankwe is joining in, and I'm going to ask you two gentlemen to help me answer his question. I've got my ideas, but let's hear from you first. So Sankwe is saying passion plus vision is the fuel, but how does purpose relate to both of those?
Well, that's Passmore's responsibility to answer that one.
You can say that. You can ask that again,
Glenn. If passion plus vision,
I didn't.
Can you hear me, Passmore?
I can hear you.
If passion and vision is fuel, okay. So if passion and vision is fuel, how does purpose relate to both?
Thank you. From what I see, from what Glenn has say, what has shared, and even what Hen has labored to say, what I see is that the purpose and the vision and the big picture, as we may put it, I see this to be almost the same. The purpose, this what are you living for? What you are living for? I equate it with a vision. There is something that you see. There is a destination that you see. I want to reach this place. And this is your purpose in life. My purpose in life is to go to Cape Town. How do I get to Cape Town? You have to pass through Botswana, you have to pass through this. What should propel me to reach to this point? And that's the fuel where we talk about the issue of passion. It is this passion that drives you to accomplish this purpose. This purpose is deposited in you. God put you on earth to accomplish one thing. And that is your purpose. That is your big picture. That is your vision. And how do you accomplish this vision? By your passion, which is your fuel now. To fuel you, to move you, to propel you to reach this destination. I think that's what I can say for now.
Passmore, I like your analogy of the journey to Cape Town. I think this is a great way to visualize this idea or this question that Sankwe is asking us, and the way that the way that I was thinking of responding to the same question is that the vision is something that I see. So I see Cape Town. Cape Town's our destination. And by the way, all journeys are defined by their destination. So when you say to people, I'm going to Cape Town, they don't ask, are you going by car through Botswana to South Africa, Namibia, whatever it might be. They just know you're going to Cape Town. Okay, so Cape Town's the end destination. It's the vision. It's what you see. But there's a purpose question related to going to Cape Town, and that is, why are you going to Cape Town, Passmore? And it's the why you're going to Cape Town that is the purpose. So at the end of the day, the why is going to take you there, and if that why is strong enough, it will be demonstrated in your passion for the why. So, the going to Cape Town is great. We're going to be there. But the reason we're going there is we're going to climb Table Mountain. We're going to go to Robben Island. We're going to do this, whatever the case might be. And it's the why part that makes the passion real, I think. So I love that. I love the journey, the trip, the holiday, because everybody can relate to that. And so thanks for giving me that kind of thought. The vision, Cape Town. The purpose is, why am I going to Cape Town? What's the motive?
Yeah.
I think it's that gives me the passion.
Gustav has also given a very nice answer. He says that vision is the destination or the destiny or the end result. Passion is the energy and the fuel. And purpose is to travel along the map or the road that you take.
This is quite a nice discussion, Henny.
It is. I was thinking similar to what we were saying there. So if you've got passion and if you've got a vision, I think you are on the journey towards your purpose. I think to achieve your purpose, passion and vision needs to be there. And I mean, we've learned that. Our formula said passion plus vision equals guts. And I think guts summarized differently could be the fourth step in the Map for Life methodology, where it says take meaningful action. If I do not have guts, if I do not take any meaningful action, if I do not start the journey, I will never be able to reach the purpose that I've lived for. So I think Glenn's conversation tonight was really about the courage, about me making that step, not leaving the dream a dream, but actually taking meaningful action to get to it. And I think passion and vision is definitely the ingredients that's needed for me to take the action so that I can achieve my purpose. So that's how I would answer that question. But I do agree that everybody that So thank you very much for the question, Sankwe, and thank you very much, Gustav, for that nice answer as well. I'm looking at the time now. We still got time. So if there's any questions that you guys still have, anything that you feel you can add to the conversation, please throw it in. We've got some time left. I've got 5 minutes before I will be struck with darkness, but I think I'll be back. I've got a plan to get around it. Glenn, you wanted to add?
I just wanted to maybe just touch on something, because I think, these words of vision, mission, purpose, passion, vocation, calling. There's so many words that are used that are dealing with the same kind of thing, but maybe a specific aspect of it, that I felt I needed to create a clear definition from a Map for Life perspective. And so in the Map for Life book, I write about purpose being why I exist. Almost like I think there's a great example in Scripture where Jesus is speaking and he says, "I have come that you might have life and life in abundance." And I think that's a great purpose statement. And so the question is, why have you come? I exist too. I have come too. And then vision, for me, is simply what I see. Yes, I can see you both wearing spectacles. So without these, we don't have great vision. But when we put these on, we can see with clarity. And so vision is literally the outcome that I see as a result of doing what I was born to do, or the why part. And then mission is the many different things that I do. So, if we go back to the journey to Cape Town, there's this, maybe I've got to drive the car. I've got to stop at certain points. Maybe I'm going to be a passenger. Maybe I need to pack the car. Maybe I need to have a hotel booked. And there's all these different things that have to be put together for us to get to Cape Town and to enjoy it. So there can be a number of different missions, but I believe there's one purpose for each of us. And that purpose is going to give us clarity of vision, enable to see what doesn't yet exist, so that we can bring the invisible into the visible. Henny, if your lights go off, don't hassle, because mine's not going to go off tonight. And I don't think, Passmore is in a first world country there in Lusaka. They've got power all the time, so he's not going to disappear.
No, we are praying for the better even over there.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, I think, Glenn, for me, the key take for me from tonight's session was really the fact that even if you've got the vision, even if you've got the passion, if you've got everything, you know what your purpose is, nothing is going to happen if you don't take meaningful action. And for me tonight, it was really about that, is to say, we are not taking action. We're not doing something because of fear, because we are afraid of something. And that something or that fear will disappear if the passion and the vision is big enough. If that is big enough, you will take that step. There will not be fear. You will take that step in the direction. You will not be afraid of anything, because taking that step will take you towards your purpose. And that's why we're here.
There's one thing that I would like to just say, Passmore can comment on this as well, and that is that I think our courage and our step of faith is going to depend on the voices we are listening to. And so the question that we should be asking is, who am I listening to? What am I listening to? What are my sources of input? What am I watching? What's coming in here? Because those things are either strengthening my faith or adding to my fearfulness and causing me to procrastinate. So I think the voices we listen to, and sometimes it's our inner voice, that we are spending too much time in negative talk. And as a consequence, we feel like we don't have the self-confidence, we don't have the courage, we don't have the ability to step forward. But all the while, we're actually talking ourselves out of doing something constantly. What are your thoughts, Pastor, on that?
Thank you very much, Glenn. Actually, you also mentioned that in your opening remarks, the aspect of courage. God speaking to Joshua 3 times, be strong and be courageous. And that was spoken in context. Here's a man who is taking over from Moses. He was almost like wearing oversized shoes. And God has to speak to him strongly, be strong and courageous. He knows what Moses has passed through, how rebellious these people are, and the enormous task that is there. But from that fuel, when he was spoken to that, the Bible quickly mentioned that he gathered everyone. He did not take a lot of time, because if you take a lot of time to implement your vision, it may die out. An idea comes, you write it down, then you spring up, and then you implement it. It helps a lot. In a nutshell, I would say a life of purpose is worth everything. A life of purpose is worth everything. And that each and every person has got a purpose to live for. If I do not do what I'm supposed to do, no one else will do it. Thank you.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm quickly looking for a quote that I think.
There we go. You see, Henny was busy looking for that quote, and he's going to come back in a moment. So,
Okay.
Passmore, you've shared some really great stuff, and I hope we see you regularly in our online studio. It's been a joy to have you share with us tonight, and for you to share your insights. But before we end tonight's session, I'm sure Henny's going to come back with that quote in a moment. But from your side,
Okay.
what would you say is your take home from now? What are you going to take away with you and apply in your life from tonight's discussion?
What I have gotten from tonight's discussion is there's the aspect of passion. That you have got a vision, and when you pursue this vision with passion, there are certain things that we can take in life. Just that laissez-faire, if it succeeds, it doesn't succeed, it's just like a 50-50. But when you do something, I associate passion with commitment.
Yeah.
I've got this one thing that I have to do, and I have to do it, and it's me to do it, and I have to do it now. So I see that aspect to be quite important in life. And then there's another dimension, Glenn, that you mentioned that I've never heard in my life ever since. I don't know whether you just mentioned it today or you got it somewhere. You mentioned that people are not afraid of failure, but they are afraid of what people will say after they have failed. I had never looked at it from that dimension, so it opened my eyes that for sure several times I said, can I do this? What will people think? If I don't succeed, what will people think? So in most cases, we put people, and as a result, because of that, we tend to fail. I was giving a talk in the morning to some another audience, and we are looking at the aspect of accepting yourself the way you are. And I was advising the people, my audience, that you don't imitate these TV stars and the public figures, but because in most cases they don't portray a real image of themselves, but accept the way you are and bring out yourself the way you are without any intimidation from someone around. So the aspect of passion has stood out to me, that what I'm pursuing, as I'm pursuing my purpose, I have to pursue it with passion. There's doing your purpose, following your purpose, but when you follow it with passion, it makes a great difference. And that's my takeaway from today's talk.
Yeah, you've touched on something so important, and I think we might need to talk about this sometime. And that is, this idea of we sit and we think, what will other people think? But when we think what other people will think, what we're actually thinking is what we will think of. It's like the Israelites. They said, we looked like grasshoppers in their eyes. It was almost, it wasn't, they didn't literally look like grasshoppers to the other people. They felt like grasshoppers because they imagined what the other people thought of them. And so I think when we can't read other people's thoughts, we don't know what they're thinking. So what is our reference when we think about what is it that causes us not to act? It's actually our own thoughts of ourselves. And it's almost like a negative look at, it's a negative self-image perhaps that we have. But thanks for bringing that up. I think it's, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, for sure. I agree with what you say, that when we think about what other people think, in most cases, actually, that's what not they may not even think about it. Like Moses would say, when the people ask me that who sent you, but no one even asked you that question. It was just in himself. I like that illustration you have given about the children of Israel. Say that we looked like grasshoppers. That imagination was in themselves, not in the other side. I've appreciated that point too.
When I've been in French-speaking countries, they use part of your name, and they say exactement, exactement. So
what does it mean in French?
Well, exactly. In French, exactement.
I see.
And I see pass more. So I just, you've been saying things that I want to respond by saying exactement, because you spot on. And I think tonight has been a great discussion, and I hope that as a result of this evening, that you and I and Henny and Gustav and Sankwe and Octavia and who else was joining us this evening? Mick from, Mick from
yes, I know Mick. Yes,
the Morning Cafe. Great to have him joining us this evening. And Andrews, Andrews Makasare is from, he was living in Queenstown. I don't know if you're still there, Andrews, but he attended Map for Life training many years ago here in Pretoria. It's just so wonderful to have him connect with us this evening. I'm trusting that our discussion this evening is going to just ignite with us, or within us, that passion again, and to recognize that the reason we may have shrunk back into our little cocoon is because we've stopped fanning the flames of passion, or we've allowed some other voice, and maybe our own voice, our own negative thoughts, to talk us out of taking that step of faith. So I'm going to go out from today and be more gutsy in my stepping. I'm going to approach people that maybe I thought were above me and realize that we are not above anyone. We're all the same, and begin to go and journey with purpose, knowing that I am, you are, everyone is God's big idea. And if we are his big idea, then we have his full backing, his full support, his full provision when we step in our purpose. Passmore, thank you so much for tonight. Have a wonderful evening. Greetings to everybody in Zambia, and also to your friends in the United Kingdom. Wonderful to have you. We're going to close with a short little video, just to remind us why Map for Life is so important. So I'm trusting. There we go. Miguel from Spain. Did you want to say something?
Yes. I really just have to indulge me. I have been a silent follower of Map for Life.
Passmore.
In September, now before you say anything, Glenn, I have been a silent follower of Map for Life for almost 10 years now. I found this book at a market. And when I saw the title, Pursue Your Purpose with Map for Life, I got it. It was a second hand. Someone was selling this book. So when I saw it, I bought it in September 2014. So from there, I've been studying it. But this year I said, no. Let me follow this Glen. Where can I find this Glen on planet Earth? And that's how I now decided to follow you, and then finally to purchase this. So today was my celebration of a silent disciple of Glen or Map for Life. Thank you so much. That's what I wanted to say.
That's so amazing. You know that there's a person that you need to look up in Zambia. His name's Bitson Sakala. Bitson Sakala, I'm sure, brought those books into Zambia. But you know something? That book that you have there has a photograph of the beach that I used to take my children on. So that photo is of the beach in
this one here. Okay.
Yes, that beach. I used to go walking on that beach with my children in the city of East London. That's called the Nahoon Beach. So it's a very special cover on that particular book because it is a reflection of where I got my inspiration. Walking on the beach, going into the bush, doing those kind of things were my creative environment. So thank you so much for showing that picture and telling your story. What an amazing story and a delight to hear where your journey started.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Muy buenos días a todos. I am Miguel Sanz from Madrid, Spain. I started using Map for Life back in 2016, where this picture here, where I am with Glenn, belong to that year in the training I did in Pretoria. And you know, there are many talks, many talks out there in internet, in real life, where great speakers tells you that you are unique, that you need to find your purpose, what you need to do in life. You end up out of those talks really happy, but naked, because you have no tools. What's Map for Life? Map for Life gives you the tools to achieve your goals, to be precise, to do all the things you need to do to achieve them. You are unique. Be mapped.